The rain had started early that evening, slow, deliberate drops that tapped against the rusted roof of Minna medium security prison. For many, it was just another storm, another reminder of how fragile everything inside those walls had become. But for Ibrahim Musa, the storm felt like an omen, the kind that whispered through steel bars and made the air taste of electricity and dread. He sat on the cracked concrete floor of his cell, his back pressed against the damp wall, counting the seconds between lightning and thunder. In a cell meant for 4, there were 12 men. The stench of sweat and unwashed bodies clung to the air like smoke. Conversations were low murmurs, half prayers, half curses. Everyone waited for something: freedom, food, forgiveness, or the end. Beside him sat Balaji, an older inmate with graying hair and calm eyes. He'd been inside longer, yet he carried himself like a man who still remembered peace. When the younger prisoners fought or cursed, Balaji would speak softly, and somehow the chaos would ease. "Do you ever think about life outside?" Ibrahim asked that night, his voice barely audible over the rain. Balaji chuckled quietly. "Every day. But thinking doesn't open gates, my boy." "Maybe not," Ibrahim said, "but it keeps me alive." Balaji turned to him with a small smile. "Hope always does. Just don't let it drive you mad." Outside, the rain thickened and the compound lights flickered, 1, 2, 3, before plunging the yard into partial darkness. No one thought much of it. Power outages were routine here. But somewhere beyond the walls, under the weight of the night, something was moving. At around 9 p.m., the guards on night watch heard it first. The sharp report of gunfire slicing through the rain. At first they thought it was thunder. Then came the screams. In seconds, chaos erupted. Bullets tore through the air, and the old iron gate shuddered under the force of explosions. The attackers, armed men from outside, stormed the compound, firing at anything that moved. Their target was simple: open the cells, release the inmates. Inside, Ibrahim jolted awake to the sound of shouts and boots slamming against metal. Balaji stood, alert, his instincts kicking in. "Stay close to me," he ordered, his voice suddenly commanding. The corridors became rivers of panic. Prisoners shouting, pounding at doors, others praying, others laughing hysterically at the madness of it all. A guard rushed past their block, rifle raised, yelling orders that no one could hear. The prison lights flickered back on for a moment, then died completely. The night had swallowed everything. Moments later, there was a deafening clang. The lock of their cell burst open. Someone had blown it apart. Prisoners surged forward like a flood. Ibrahim followed Balaji, the floor slick under his feet, the air choking with smoke and gunpowder. In the hallway, bodies collided. The smell of blood and sweat and fear filled the lungs. Someone screamed behind them. Someone else fell. Guards fired blindly. Bullets ricocheted off walls. They reached the yard, or what remained of it. The outer gates had been breached. Shadows darted through the broken fence, disappearing into the dark. Gunmen shouted for the inmates to move quickly, while guards shouted for them to stop. It was impossible to tell who was winning, or if anyone was. Balaji grabbed Ibrahim's arm. "We go now," he shouted over the chaos. They ran. The mud sucked at their bare feet, the rain stung their faces. The night was alive with sirens, gunfire, and screams. They were almost at the outer wall when it happened. A section of the old masonry, weakened by years of neglect, gave way with a sudden crack. It collapsed in an instant, scattering debris. Balaji was caught beneath it. Ibrahim spun around, heart pounding. "Balaji!" The older man was pinned by a heavy beam across his leg. He tried to move but couldn't. Blood ran down into the mud, mingling with the rain. "Go!" Balaji gasped. "Don't you dare stop now. I'm not leaving you." Ibrahim shouted, grabbing the beam with both hands trying to lift it. His muscles screamed, the wood wouldn't budge. Gunfire cracked nearby. A spotlight swept across the yard. Guards were advancing. Balaji's voice grew faint. "You have a chance, Ibrahim. Take it. Live." Tears mixed with rain as Ibrahim looked at him. The man who had shared his bread, who had taught him how to stay sane in hell. A rifle fired. The beam jolted. Balaji went still. The sound that left Ibrahim's throat wasn't human, a cry that came from somewhere deeper than fear. He stumbled backward, his mind numb, his body running on instinct. He vaulted through a hole in the fence, bullets snapping past his ears, and disappeared into the storm. For 2 days, Ibrahim wandered the outskirts of Minna, hiding in drainage tunnels, abandoned huts, and the thick bush beyond the city. He was soaked, starving, and delirious. The freedom he had dreamed of for months now felt hollow, poisoned by guilt. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw Balaji's face, not in anger but in that calm, almost fatherly way he had always looked at him. By the 3rd day, Ibrahim's escape ended. Someone recognized him, a farmer who'd seen the manhunt posters. The police came quietly at dawn. They didn't need to fight. Ibrahim didn't run. When they brought him back to the prison, the compound was quieter, but the scars were everywhere. Shattered walls, burnt corridors, and the smell of loss. Out of 270 escapees, many were dead or rearrested. Dozens of guards had been wounded. The state called it a tragedy. No one spoke Balaji's name. In his new cell, smaller, darker, lonelier, Ibrahim stopped counting days. His trial still didn't come. The guards no longer looked at him with contempt, but pity. One of them, a younger officer, sometimes slipped him extra food, perhaps seeing something broken in his eyes. Weeks later, Ibrahim learned that Balaji's body had been buried quietly by prison staff. No ceremony. No family present. Just another casualty in a night of madness. Every time it rained, Ibrahim would lie awake listening to the drops on the roof just as he had that night. And in the rhythm of the storm, he swore he could still hear Balaji's voice. "Hope keeps you alive, don't let it drive you mad." He would whisper back to the empty dark, "I didn't. I just lost it too late." Years later, when Ibrahim's story reached a journalist, the man wrote only this line about him. He escaped a prison of concrete, only to return to one built of memory. The Minna prison was eventually repaired, reinforced, renamed, as if that could erase the past. But for those who lived that night, no wall could hold back the echoes, the screams, the shots, the rain. And so, when the storms come to Minna and the wind hums through the gates, the guards still say it sounds like chains rattling, as if the ghosts of that night are still trying to escape.